For too long, we as women have been told to achieve our goals, we have to sacrifice our health, families, and our sanity. And if you're tired of the rise and grind mentality done by trying to be the perfect boss babe and ready to thrive without burning out, you are in the right place, because true success is never built from an empty cup. I'm your hostess, SaCola Lehr, work-life harmony strategist and author. And this is Work It, Live It, Own It, the podcast that takes you from burnout to brilliance. You know, we live in a world that constantly glorifies busyness. The rise and grind mentality that tells us, hey, every waking moment, if we're not producing, achieving, or serving, those are moments that are wasted. And that can create a deep-seated belief that rest is a reward, not something that we've earned after we've done enough. But what if I told you that this belief is actually sabotaging our brilliance? And what if I told you that rest is required, not rewarded? And that's the shift that we're going to be exploring today. And to illustrate this, I want to share with you a time not so long ago where I was constantly running on fumes. I was doing my 9-to-5, client work, family responsibilities, trying to launch a new project. And every morning I would already wake up feeling behind. I would push through the day, fuel myself with caffeine and sheer willpower. And so by early afternoon, I was already tired. By the evening, I was feeling completely depleted. My body was screaming for a break, but my mind was relentless. It kept going nonstop, telling me, hey, you haven't done enough. Hey, there's not enough hours in the day. You can't stop now. What will people think? And so, you know what? I would try to squeeze in this quick mindfulness or a short 15-minute walk. But even then, I had this nagging feeling of guilt that I was stealing time from something that was more important. And it wasn't until I figuratively hit a wall and I had a complete physical and emotional shutdown that I realized that this wasn't sustainable. And so I was so focused on earning rest that I was destroying my capacity to actually receive it. And that's when the truth hit me. Rest isn't a prize for productivity. It's the fuel that we need to actually be productive in a way that doesn't deplete us or burn us out. And so today we're going to dive deep into the guilt of the pause. And I'm going to introduce what I call recharge and rise. Now, this is not another thing that you're going to add to your to-do list. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with rest and productivity. And we're going to explore how to dismantle the guilt, the emotional, intentional pauses, and truly understand that taking rest is non-negotiable requirement for sustained success and well-being. And we're also going to tie this in with the Prone to Power framework that you can find in my book to guide us in our conversation today. So the big problem with thinking that we need to have rest as a reward is what I call the productivity prison. You know, where we have been conditioned to believe that our worth is directly tied to our output. And the more we do, the more valuable we are. And this can lead to us constantly striving, where taking breaks will feel like laziness, a failure, or even a moral failing. That we are letting ourselves down, we are letting others down, because we see others constantly posting about their achievements, their early mornings, their late nights. You know the ones, hey, I'm at the gym at 4 a.m. Hey, I'm traveling while working. And listen, there's nothing wrong with doing those things, right? But we start to internalize the messages that we're looking at, and then we start thinking, wow, I should be doing more, right? And so this creates a pervasive sense of guilt whenever we dare to try to slow down or to pause or just simply be. Now, this productivity prison is particularly apparent in women's lives because we're often juggling multiple roles: professional caregiver, partner, friend, and the expectation to excel in all of them is immense. And when we finally get a moment to ourselves, instead of truly resting, we're often plagued by the mental highlight reel of all the things we should be doing or we have to do, right? And this isn't rest. It's just a different kind of mental labor and mental load. And that leads directly to burnout, exhaustion, and a profound disconnect from our own needs and desires. In fact, according to the American Institute of Stress, I'm going to read this directly. This kind of constant low stress is a primary driver of burnout in the workplace and home. So why do we fall into this productivity prison? And it feels such an intense guilt when we pause. Part of it is cultural. We live in a society that values constant motion and visible effort, from school, where we were rewarded for extra credit, to the workplace, where long hours often equated to dedication. And so the message is clear: the more, the better. We've internalized this so deeply that it feels wrong to stop. And this is also a psychological component because many of us, especially those who are high achievers, our identity is deeply intertwined with our ability to produce and to contribute. So taking a break can feel like a threat to that identity. We may feel like we're starting to lose ourselves, we're losing our edge, we're falling behind, or we're disappointing others. And for women in particular, there's often that added layer of feeling responsible for everyone else's well being, making any self focused pause feel inherently selfish. We confuse self care with selfishness. And when in reality, it's the foundation of our capacity to care for everyone else. So, how do we break free from the productivity prison and dismantle the guilt of the pause? It's all about embracing, recharge, and rise. This is a framework that can help you intentionally integrate rest as a non negotiable component of your success. And so here's how it works. And I'm going to tie this into prone. And if you're not familiar with prone, head on over to my website, SaCola Lehr.com, and you can download your free PDF, and it breaks down how prone can work in your everyday life. So, step one, the first thing to do is to recognize rest as fuel and not as a reward. This is where P in prone comes into for priorities. We have to retrain our thinking, retrain ourselves, believing that rest isn't something you earn after you've depleted yourself. I don't know why we feel like, oh, we've got to hit a brick wall in order for us to rest. We're going to have to shift that because it's essential fuel that allows us to perform at our best. We need that rest. Just like a car needs gas, your body needs and your mind needs rest to function optimally. So prioritizing scheduling rest before you're exhausted, this is proactive, not reactive approach to your well-being. So again, we have to recognize rest as our fuel. The second step is to establish non-negotiable pause pockets. This is going to help us with the O in prone to be organized because we want to identify specific non-negotiable times in our day or our week for intentional pauses. This does not have to be long. It could be 15 minutes of quiet contemplation, a short walk, or simply staring out the window. And I would encourage you to do this just like I mentioned in a last episode. Do it without your phone. Do it without digital devices. The key to this is that you're scheduling this time and you're protecting it. It is a non-negotiable. And if you can organize your schedule to include these pockets, treating them like it's your paycheck, like it's your salary with the same importance, then you'll start practicing it and implementing it. So again, just try this a couple of times during your week for intentional pauses, and then maybe work your way up to a daily practice. For the number 3, I want you to be able to communicate your why. This is the in and prone, navigating boundaries. Because when you take a pause, you might encounter resistance from others, but most importantly, you may encounter it from your inner critic. We are our worst critics. So you want to be prepared to communicate your why. For example, I'm taking this time because it allows me to be more focused and present when I return. This also helps you to navigate boundaries by clearly stating the purpose and the benefit of your rest, both for yourself and for those around you. Now, when you're working a 9 to 5, typically 10 to 15 minute breaks are implemented in your day. That is law here in the US. So if you are a business owner or you living in another country, you may be allotted break times during the day. But if you work for yourself, then I would strongly suggest that you incorporate those times during your day and also be able to communicate your why. Yes, you may be working on a major project right now. Yes, you might be doing a launch. You might be in the middle of a launch. However, if you don't take this time, you're not going to allow yourself to be more focused and present. So you need to be able to discover your why and communicate it not only to others, but also yourself. Number 4, you want to embrace imperfection. This is the E in empowerment. This is where we're going to take the guilt of pause and our desire for perfection and flip it. Because you might feel like you need to finish every task before you can rest. But true empowerment is going to come from you recognizing that perfection is an illusion. As Brene Brown so beautifully puts it in her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, we have to let go of who we think we're supposed to be and embrace who we are. Embrace the idea that sometimes good enough is perfect, and empower yourself to step away from the endless to-do list, knowing that a rested you is a more effective you. To give you a prime example, if you are someone who is dealing with an autoimmune condition, particularly women are being diagnosed with autoimmune conditions. And for me, yesterday, dealing with every day can be different for me. I can wake up full of energy like today, and then there are some days where I'm completely fatigued. Well, yesterday, there were things that I wanted to do. I had things in my head that I wanted to accomplish, and I didn't accomplish half of the things that I wanted to do. But what I did allow myself to do, which was a non-negotiable, was for me to lay down. Didn't mean I necessarily slept, but I committed myself to 30 minutes of laying down and just closing my eyes. So that way I could get back up and continue on with doing some of the things that I needed to do. So again, was my day perfect? Did it align? Did I do everything that I wanted to do? No, but I embraced imperfection and I realized my need for rest, which leads me to number 5. Reframe the idea that you're being lazy. It's not laziness. I want you to think of it as strategic recovery, which is the R in prone, rejuvenation. When that little voice whispers in your head, you can't afford to be lazy, or you can't afford to sit down, you can't afford to rest, flip the script because you're not lazy. You're engaging in strategic recovery. You're actively listening and staying in tune with your body and investing in your long-term capacity and brilliance. This reframe is so powerful. It's a powerful tool for rejuvenation because it allows you to relax without the mental burden of guilt. So, to recap and to summarize, prone is again, P is for priorities, R is for rejuvenation, O is organize, navigating boundaries. N is for navigating boundaries, and E is for empowerment. So again, if you want to find out how prone to power can work in your everyday life, head on over to SaCola Lehr.com and download your free PDF. So the guilt of pause is a powerful force. Take that time and don't allow society's ways of productivity, rise and grind, that hustle mentality control you. We have to flip the script. We have to change our way of thinking and look at our lives as a way to recharge and rise. And by applying that prone to power principles that I just mentioned, you can transform your relationship with rest. It's not a reward, it's a necessity. Because if you remember, your rest is not something you need to earn. It's a requirement for your sustained success and brilliance in your everyday life. So it's time to reclaim your right to pause without guilt. And so to wrap up this episode, I just want you to remember one thing. You can accomplish your goals and your dreams without forsaking your family, your health, and your well-being, because it's time to move from burnout to brilliance on your own terms. I want to thank you for joining me in this powerful episode. If this resonated with you, please share it with a friend who needs to hear it, because her rest is required as well. And for more strategies on moving from burnout to brilliance, head on over to SaCola and grab your copy of Harmony Hustle for Women, Master the Art of Thriving in Life and Career. And also I have a free gift on that page as well. Harmony Hustle for Women, you can listen to the audio version of the introduction of the book and see if it resonates with you. All right, guys, until next time, continue to work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives. Take care and talk soon. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. If this episode gave you a moment of clarity, or if you heard exactly what you needed to hear, please follow this show, leave a review, and share it with someone who is navigating their own messy middle. And remember, your well-being is your wealth. To dive deeper into the Prone framework and grab your copy of the Harmony Hustle for Women, head on over to SaCola.com. Until next time, work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives.